Hello and welcome to the next episode of Woodward's Watercolours, where I am going to review Nassau 12 pack with a pencil and 2 brushes of watercolour. It says that they're premium. I don't think they are. Well, what does premium mean? I think they're relatively cheap. It's a little pack I was given by a friend. This is not linked to any company, but I'm actually pretty desperate to give them a go. So come on, let's get these unpacked. We're going to do a little dot card. Going to try this out this time and see how we go. But let's try them out and come on, let's do it. Okay, let's get this open. So, love this bit. Something really cool about opening things, isn't there? I think it comes to us from when we were little children. So let's have a look. I always find it pretty cool trying out new things, you know. And we're going to use the brushes that are given. What I absolutely love is that we have got a little tin. Oh, flipping love a tin. Absolutely love a tin. Anyway, okay, so now we have got the pencil. The pencil, it doesn't really say what it is. I would assume it's an HB. Getting nice variance there with pressure. Yeah, is that on? It's a pencil. We have a flat brush. Whoop whoop. Now they are very light, very lightweight. Always like that first when you have to sort of remove the starch of the thing. Let's just dip it in water and see. Yeah, okay. And then, then the round brush. These are the round brushes that I never use because I don't really see the point in them, because you have effectively that in the flat brush. But anyway, let's move swiftly on. So what I want to do actually is, I thought I'd try this out. So each one, I don't know whether you know this, but this was pretty cool. Whenever you turn the cap, so obviously the cap's here, turn the cap around. For those of you who know, sorry for insulting your intelligence. For those of you who don't, you're welcome. So you just pierce that, and we're just going to do a dot here. I will put the white on, but I don't ever see the point in white, because the white actually that we should be using in watercolor from my point of view is the white of the paper, but hey ho. This is sap green. Love sap green, one of my favorite colors. Oh wow, that's an electric sap green. So I think that that's one of the things that you tend to find, that the cheaper brands of colors tend to be nearly like madly luminous, you know. The difficulty that I have with tubed watercolor is, particularly for those who haven't used them much before, they're very hard to get the consistency right, because you can end up using them like acrylic, and you don't want to do that with watercolor. This lemon yellow is probably gonna blow my socks off here. So let's get this. I've no idea how much this pack was, but I'm imagining probably somewhere between £5 and £10. What's that, maybe $12? I have no idea. As I said, a friend gave me this and said, maybe you'd like to do a review on this, and I thought, heck, why not? This is Crimson Red Lake. Whoa! Okay, next one. We're nearly there. 6 down, 6 to go. Yellow ochre. Isn't that cool? We think actually that's what the top of the thing in the lid is for. I remember discovering that, or being told about that, and thinking that was the best thing in the world. And I remember when our after our children had got out of nappy, somebody explaining to us, or reading somewhere, this is Viridian, another mad bright color, reading somewhere that on the baby grows at the top, where they have those, like, you know, they have the lines and these lines in their design so you can pull them apart. And I was thinking, jeepers, the amount of times I tried to pull the baby grow, or the wee, you know, the wee vest over their head, rather than just being able to do that and pull it down. So that was cerulean blue, one of my favorite colors. This is burnt umber. Nearly there. So my colors would tend to be the sap green, burnt umber, blacker Payne's grey, cerulean blue for the skies, and actually it's lovely that there's a burnt sienna and a vermilion, which is interesting as well. Hopefully for those of you who like things neat, you're enjoying the neatness. Now it'll be interesting to see. Probably a bigger brush would be better, but I really want to use the little pack. So whenever we're going to trial these out, I'm going to do pencil work underneath, which is going to be interesting for me because I never do that. Okay, and that one is vermilion. Okay, so that is the colours down. Now we're going to take our brush and our lovely Nutella jar, which I am such a big fan of for. So typically what I'm doing would be 3 lifts, but we're not going to do that. We're going to keep the brush nice and loaded. And we're going to pull it down and see what this does. Okay, the white, again, not overly sure why we have white, because as you can see, you can't see it. Let's look at the green. So I'm just agitating it ever so slightly to pull it down. So the black is good, seems to have good pigment. This is the ultramarine blue. So just giving it a wee agitation. Can you see how much though with the the liquid watercolor, how it is really hard to get the right consistency, because so I'm agitating it and pulling it down, and I've seen in lots of classes, you know, whenever somebody hasn't used these before and they buy these tubes, then it ends up that they're practically painting with, as I mentioned, the consistency of an acrylic. So let's get these. The yellow ochre tends to be more opaque and milky. It's okay. This one is the Viridian. It's going to be very luminous. The sap green was quite a nice surprise because it wasn't as violently vibrant as I thought it was going to be. This is the cerulean blue, so this is a colour I would be using lots of. Next one is burnt umber. Again, another one I'd be using lots and lots and lots of. Now that is quite milky. It's actually quite light. It's actually, for me, probably more to the burnt sienna in some ways. I mean, it's okay. They tend to be, because they're cheaper brand, they tend to be milkier. I suppose what I mean by milkier is, you know, that bit more opaque, a bit more sort of gouache-y nearly. Okay. So, and let's demo this brush. We'll pick what color do I think? Oh, the black's quite good. So what I do find is with a brush like this, you can tend to nearly draw with it. No, I'm doing but you've got a little bit more control. But I mean, and also the other thing you can do with a brush like this is so you can, you know, splay it. See how that goes. But I never use brushes like this because I find them too fiddly and too thin. I am always going to use the flat brush because I feel I can achieve the same thing with it, and it gives me more options. And even I find that I have much more control with the flat brush and just works really, really well. Okay, so let's have a little closer look at these colors. They're, I think, pretty average. I would like to know really the cost of this. I am guessing somewhere between £5 and £10, and not a bad place to start. The only thing I would say is that because they're in tubes, you would need to invest in like a little palette. Here's one of the ones that I bought for doing different classes and things, and I have put in, you can take those little squares out, and then you squeeze in the paint, and then it's going to cure and dry, and then you've got a set that you can get the right consistency with pretty quickly. Okay, so step 1 done. We have trialed the colours, trialed the pencils, trialed the brushes. Now let's give this a go in real on a painting. Okay, so I want to tackle this in a very non-wasteful way. So I have made these little dots of colour, and I'm just going to show you how little you actually need. Now we're going to do this little scene here that I've used before from, it's a river, I think it's called the 6 Mile River in Antrim, and it's really, really very beautiful place. So we're just going to put that there. I'm going to use the brush, the flat brush, and we're just going to just jump in here and get some of the basic structures. Now, I don't normally draw in pencil. I actually really love drawing in pencil, but I just find so much benefit from drawing in pen. Sorry, I was distracted every second. Just so much benefit from drawing in pen that that's predominantly what I do. So I love this, the kind of idea of, you know, the movement of the pencil in a really fluid, almost quite like a continuous line way. I would say that how I draw now is in that manner, in continuous line mixed with, so I kind of dance the pencil around a little bit, sort of darker areas here. And sorry, I'm just talking to myself because that's how these videos work, isn't it? Because I'm talking to myself. And hopefully you find some sort of interest in it. Just trying to get those darkest points down. Now, if I notice that line, actually, the shadows are much more across the way. I just want to get in basic structure here. I've drawn this before, drawn this scene actually many times before. And that's the great thing about having the little printer, you know, the wee Kodak printer that I've used before, is you have the accessibility of these images already printed. And this would be my little flick book of images to work from. Okay, so that's really, now this really dark shadow down here, so we'll maybe indicate that with the pencil. The pencil's pretty good, so holding its thingy really well, it's holding the sharpness really well, so I would probably say it is an HB. Okay, so the sky. So what I'm going to do with the sky is, I've been doing this a little bit more recently, I think it's Toby's influence, is we're going to wet this sky first, because the way that the sky is and just how beautifully watercolor can work like this. I know, who am I even doing this? It's going to take just a little bit of a dot of the blue. These big well palettes I got, I think they were like $2.99, and they really are pretty wonderful. So I'm trying to orientate myself as to where and what each color is. So this is very much about me familiarizing myself with this. I'm just dropping in some tone here. I just want to drop in some pretty pure cerulean as well. Now I wonder, will the pen, I don't really do much with pencil on its own, so I wonder, does pencil kind of run underneath? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We're mixing a Payne's grey here. You take in the black, and actually what you should take is the ultramarine. That's going to give me a really nice Payne's grey. So okay, just finding those darkest points. Now I know that they say, whoever they are, that you really need to go from light to dark. I don't know about that. Just go whatever way you're going, really. Let's dilute this. Take some off the actual brush. I've got my, oh, as it popped out of my fingers, my trusty little sponge. Absolutely love it. I used to love those things as a kid, you know, just how they seemingly changed kind of structure whenever you, so that's a good way to get some of the excess off, is just touch that, and it's going to give you that. And the brush is separating, you see it's given like almost like a tooth-like kind of thing going on there. So just trying to make some marks, noticing the direction of the brushwork. That area there is actually really dark, so let's darken that down. Okay, and that's much darker there. All right, okay, next little bit, we're going to move to the greens. So we've got this sap green, which should be the basis of everything. So it's totally nuts and luminous. It's going to take a little bit of the yellow ochre, just to bring it down a little bit, make it a little more of a friendly, normalized green, and the umber, and then actually some of the sienna is going to be good too. It's actually good in remembering where everything is, which I'm rather pleased about. So this is layer 1. Just on a nice little size of paper as well, and this is a I've used the other side of this to swatch out, I think, on another video. So I really enjoy that, where you can just take some of this vermilion, the orange. Yes, that's lovely. They're actually really, there's a nice they're working really nicely, you know, they're not overly milky as you're making application, which is lovely. And let's take a little bit of that over here and actually let it bleed just a touch. And those colors again are appearing just down here. I don't want them to bleed into the sky. So let's take that orange again. I'm actually going to need to put down more vermilion. Who knew? It's actually a really good scene to demo lots of different colours. You can see how liquidy they come out. I'm actually lifting that like a shovel and then just pressing that in here. Now I want to add a little bit more water to that. I would also see the... I'm just going to go nuts here for a second about flat edge brushes. Can you see how many options a flat edge brush gives you? Like they let you, you know, you can make lovely big thick marks and also much thinner marks as well. And I find the restriction of these little brushes here, it's just really annoying actually. Okay, so I'm going to keep that what I've mixed there, lift some of that, drop it into this little one here, get a little bit more of my sap green. I'm going to need to put more of the sap green down. You can see how if you buy a dot card from whoever it is, whether it's Schminke or I don't know, does Jackson's do them, or Daniel Smith. Certainly I know Daniel Smith definitely do dot cards. But you can see how you could actually paint off a dot card, can't you? And let's make this a little bit thicker. Now that's another point. If you're using more expensive colors, then it takes... Okay, and let's take some more yellow ochre, mix that in, take a good chunk of the burnt sienna, and I want to see what it does. Lovely. They work quite well for me because I like the colors to be quite thin and quite muted in some ways, you know. You can see that I'm mixing to a tonal range that I'm happy in, sorry, and this scene is very much that. What I might do is just take a little bit of this vermilion, just straight, and I want to drop it in. So I'm going to mix this, going to drop it in. Now once I've done that, I'm going to leave this to dry naturally, and I'm then going to come back to it, dropping that. I wonder if I take a little bit of this lemon yellow. Yes, lovely. Me like. So that's all I'm going to do for now. Let's let it dry and then we'll come back to it and take it from there. Okay, so I'm back and this is now dried. It's several hours later and I've had a day, and it's really interesting to see that it dries in this kind of almost a gouache, strange sort of way. You've got very defined edges around the black and really those kind of super defined edges around the green as well, which is going to be interesting. So let's get going again. Okay, so I have added in a good bit more of the paint, because also the other thing that's happened with the paint is it hasn't dried with that nice kind of shiny surface that you would get with most watercolors. Now it's fine to reactivate it here, but it is just almost dried into what looks much more like poster paint, and I think effectively that's really what you're getting is poster paint rather than proper watercolor. So it's actually been a really helpful and interesting exercise to leave it for so long to really get a sense of how it dries, and also to realize how the paint, you know, seeing the paint go quite hard and sort of chalky like that really also gives me good information. The other thing that is really interesting about these paints is you have to mix an awful lot of it to get anything that has real kind of teeth, you know. It seems to be quite kind of woolly. I mean, it's a lovely presented set, but I'm not rating these watercolors. I mean, it's given... I mean, it's nice to see a bit of a different effect, but I don't know. Wouldn't be something I would be rushing out to buy. I think it also shows you what is happening if you're using a hairdryer and what that is actually doing, and kind of robs a little bit as well of the drying and the process of drying, and what comes through whenever you actually do just let it dry, air dry in its own good time. Now I am actually using this much more undiluted, because I have found that it is just incredibly difficult to get something that is actually going to take up the water and it's not going to look just so completely and utterly like this weak water on the page. It's really interesting to just take your time with things like this, and there are definitely things that only time are going to reveal, you know, and just taking the opportunity to let it dry in its own good time. And I'm going to mix this in. So now that I know this, I am taking much more chunks, good big chunks like this, into the palette to get them to mix together, which is giving me a much slimier kind of mix of paint. I'm going to use a little bit of the ochre nearly just on its own, take a good chunk of it. I'll mix it in with a little bit of that. I mean, there's very little water to it, and it's not got much to it at all. Let's just drop this on. I mean, I think, you know, buying a little set like this to experiment with is grand, but also then if you're going to invest in better stuff than this, then you're going to really notice such a dramatic difference when you actually use it, because it's just got a completely different kind of texture. So I'm taking the black here. Now the black should be pretty interesting. That's really, really, it's almost a brown. There's actually, look at that. You can see in the palette there, really looks more like a very, very dark brown. So I'm going to take some of the cerulean to bring that up into more of a Payne's grey. Okay, so I've got something that I'm a little bit happier to work with. I'm going to take huge dollops of this for this area, and actually I'm going to let these two kind of bleed just to try and find those sort of darker sections, and I might actually just let it bleed ever so slightly in here. Now round here as well, so whenever I'm painting any time, I'm always looking for the darkest points. I don't really try to find the lightest points, because it seems like that all happens quite naturally, you know, because we're leaving them actually white out of the white of the page. Going to use this kind of dancing motion and this nice and weak color here. Okay, well, I don't really want to take too much more time on this. What I do want to do is just, I'm going to cut to a much closer view of this so that we can really kind of analyze this a little bit better together. So let me clear the space and let me zoom the camera in and we'll have a chat. Okay, so really a very interesting experiment. The watercolor is, the way that it's drying is, and just seems really quite weak and diluted. Now it's given an okay sort of an effect. Would I rush out and buy these? No, I definitely wouldn't. In terms of a starter set, I've no idea what the price was, so I'd be very interested to see what that actually was. I'm suggesting probably something between 5 and 10. Probably the lower end of that for the quality that you're getting. But I mean, it was okay. It just took an awful lot of paint to be able to use, and I would be concerned then as to if I was to actually, you know, squeeze that out into one of those little half pans, you know, what would it actually dry like? And you kind of get this sort of a rough, granular almost feel, but it's not really, it's not granulated paint either, but these harsh lines that are going around it. So interesting exercise. I mean, it's a nice enough little sort of a sketch of the scene, but as I said, average. I think that's a good, just, well, probably a little more below average, to be honest. Well, very interesting. I mean, I don't like to be overly negative whenever I'm checking something out, but you also want to be realistic. And because this was given to me by a friend, and to be honest, if I was ever given a product to review by the company, I would give an honest one as well. So this was, this is just Crimson, to give you an idea. It's Nassau Fine Art, and it's by the Creative Grip, I think it's called. Let me just double check that for you. By the Creative Craft Grip. And this lovely little set with a really nice tin, but the watercolors, they're all right. I mean, I think if you're going to buy something for yourself to experiment with, then I mean you can try those, but actually to invest maybe another £10 or something to get a kind of a truer feel of watercolor, that's going to be a good thing. As a gift, I mean, I was thinking, you know, who would I give this to? Probably a child. I think that would be a nice little introduction for a child to have a go with. I think whenever it dried, it was sort of felt very weak, and the harsh outlines didn't feel like something that was really pleasant and quirky and different, like buying a watercolor that granulates really well and the pigment settles nicely into the paper. It just felt like, oh, not great. So there you go. That has been my review of Nassau Fine Art little watercolor set of 12 painted tubes with a pencil, a flat brush and a round brush. The flat brush was nice, love a flat brush, that was great. By the creative group. Let me check that again, I can never remember these things. The Creative Craft group. So very interesting to do. As always, if you're enjoying my videos, don't forget to hit the little bell icon and it will notify you of when new videos are dropping. I also really enjoy your comments and just hearing what you're thinking about these videos. Do keep suggesting things for me to do as well. I love that, find that very inspirational, and I get to go out and about with my drone, but it's so cold at the minute in Northern Ireland. Bit nuts really. Anyway, for more information about me, head to www.woodwardswatercolours.co.uk. You can find information about private tuition, commissions, workshops, weekends away with Mr. Toby Sketchless, and all things like that, as well as a link to my Etsy store. So that's the end of this episode. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you sometime soon. Bye for now.